Okay, well, this is Tim Timmons with another 10,000 minute experiment. And to my right's Emo Denise.
But you look to your left, and I'm not going to let that slide. I'm not going to let it slide. You're swerved to the right, people. But that's me. Hello.
Okay, to my far left, Chris.
Hey, guys.
Cleveland.
Yo.
I was looking at you and your family yesterday.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I just was noticing that your oldest has long hair. And I was like, that's so cute. Like, both you guys are long hair.
So I say in my shows, I say, he looks like me, he acts like me, he aggravates his mama like I do. He's just like a little carbon copy.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
How old is he?
8. Third grade.
Oh, he's a cute little dude. You got 3 cute little humans.
Man, I know. It's wild right
You
now.
got 3 too then.
Mm-hmm.
Dude.
Speaking
And yours
of,
are older, so
They are. We just got out
you're
of
surviving.
we just got out of children, the baby
littles,
phase. Yeah.
yeah.
So we have human beings now.
We're still in that phase.
you're totally in that. And speaking of who you are, this is Kelsey. This is Kelsey Grimm, everybody.
I'm getting ahead of myself. Hi, guys. Thanks for having
You
me.
got 3 little humans. Little humans.
How old?
Though.
So they're 1, 3, and 4.
Woo. Yeah. You're in it.
Yeah,
We're in it.
Kelsey and Caleb are in it right now.
And you still got a couple of years of being in it.
Yes, we do.
Which is fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Everything's fine.
It's
I'm fine. Oh, boy.
I'm
Everything's
fine. You're fine. We're all fine.
Oh, that's so my sister. Yeah, everything's fine.
Everything's
We're
fine.
fine.
We're fine here. Mhm.
Wasn't there a movie called that a few years ago?
If not, there should
There should
definitely
be,
be
yeah.
one about
Yeah.
a mom who's drowning.
Yeah,
Right.
I think that's basically like of this family. It's like barely keeping it together.
Yep, that's us. It's like a
Everything's
dark
fine.
We are that movie. Oh, boy.
So when Kelsey walked in my house, she saw there's a little note at the bottom of the stairs that says, I'm out working out. No screens. Do some work. You just like stuff that you're telling kids to do. Get your crap done. That's basically what she's saying.
they do it?
Make your own breakfast. Like it was
But
just...
that's your next. That's
I
next
can't
season.
even fathom it.
That's your next
Wow.
season,
Make
and
your
it's
own
coming.
breakfast.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
See, we got there pretty early because my kids wake up with the sun.
oh, mine do too.
So we were like, we're going
And
to
Chris
put,
does not.
and judge me all you want. I don't freaking care. We just put the processed food low
Oh my
So they
God.
and say, go for it, guys.
The
I'm
process.
not getting up
Oh
at
my
5:30 with you.
Yeah.
And so, like,
Yeah.
since all of our kids were little, we come down, they've got pancakes and watching Mickey Mouse or whatever.
Yeah.
And we're like, I don't know what time you woke up, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my kids, they did some memorization this morning. We're in Isaiah right now, so they're memorizing Isaiah. So
Are you joking? Or is this-
next.
Also,
Ever.
hold on. I just want to
Anyway.
point out.
Not true.
Like,
They're like, the Bible? What is that? Like, Isaiah, is that a guy? Dad? Well, it's a book in the Bible.
we came to church yesterday, the
Yeah.
whole family.
Yes. Yeah.
And we brought our kids into the main service.
Yeah.
And I realized about halfway through, this is the first time in 8 years of having children that we've all come into the service together.
Powerful.
First time ever.
It was powerful.
So my kids like don't know what to do. They're like, my daughter's just leaned back. She was like
She's feeling
jamming.
it.
I was like, that's funny. Started taking a video. Like I was just enthralled watching them experience it. It was interesting.
Poor Kelsey. She's like, shh. Oh, honey, quiet down.
and then my phone's blowing up. I'm getting a text from somebody in the nursery that Collins is screaming her bloody lungs out
Yesterday.
again. Like back and forth 100 times. Yeah. I mean,
That's
it's
your jam
just
every week.
Every week.
Yeah.
Fine.
I hear about 5 words of Mike's sermon.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to brag, but did you hear about the drummer yesterday?
No.
He had
Oh,
a
yeah,
heavy
it's-
mallet hand.
No,
That's
what?
all I
Heavy
know.
metal. There's a guy named Tim Timmons, super hot, that drummed yesterday for Journey Church.
Is that
because-
why I didn't see you?
Yeah, because that's like, what? That's terrible. I think they didn't even have it up in the house.
thought it was a track.
See, I wouldn't even know. I wasn't
Interesting.
in the building long
Yeah,
enough to know.
well, I would just, again, it was perfection. People thought, oh,
I
that
think
is a
that's
track.
great.
No, we didn't have
Hey.
any drummers. All of our
Parker
drummers are
Joe
on
was
tour.
jamming. That's all I know. PJ was jamming out.
I had one good riff. It was perfect.
One
then I was
good
done.
riff.
Then I was done.
I love it.
Played that SPD pad.
Yes, I
It
did.
was great.
Okay, well, wow, we are
We're rolling.
we're rolling.
Welcome to our podcast.
We're
This is pretty much
caffeinated.
it.
True.
Okay, so and the turn that I'm about to do is so strong.
Strong.
I mean, this is a
We're gonna connect the dots. I promise.
a real strong turn right now. Well, Kelsey, you sang like you're a singer,
Which
You
is different than singing.
yes, no, she can sing.
Yeah.
I mean, were you an artist by yourself ever?
Never. Mm-mm.
But you were with the girls.
Yes, I was in a girl group once.
What was it called?
We were label mates for a little bit.
Oh,
Do you know that?
I wasn't even really aware of that.
Yeah, we were. I was a drummer.
It's hard for me to remember.
One Girl Nation.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
girl
Yeah.
nation.
Yeah, I remember them
Yeah.
saying there's a girl band on our label. I'm like, yes, there
Was
is.
it a Christian group?
Yes,
Was it like the
It
Christian
was like
version of Cheetah Girls or
the
something?
Spice Girls.
The Spice
There
Girls.
There were 5 of us.
So who were you?
So when I auditioned for the group and made the group, I came here to Nashville. I'm from Illinois originally. Came here, auditioned for this group, and at the end of week-long live audition situation, I made the group, came as a blonde, left as a redhead.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
they literally dyed my hair a deep dark
Oh.
red because they needed everyone to fit a certain
Spice.
Yeah.
spice.
Oh my gosh. So
You
what
were
were
Ginger
you? Red
Spice.
Hot
So I
Spice?
was Ginger
She
Spice.
was Ginger
Ginger
Spice.
I
Spice.
love
I always
it.
wanted
Yeah.
to be sporty Spice.
I feel like Ginger she's like made a life for herself outside of the Spice
Yeah,
Girls. She's
she
like into
has.
racing and
Well,
stuff.
she was
Have you
the first
seen this?
one. She was the first one to quit,
Yeah.
and I was too. The first one to quit my group.
Stop.
Hey, I'm just following Ginger Spice all the way.
All the way.
hair
Yeah.
dye
And
was
you still have
prophetic.
you still have your hair red, which is so cool.
Well, it's not anymore. 'Cause I,
Tim's
got sick of it.
colorblind as well.
It's just his left
Yeah.
eye. Yeah, it happens.
I know.
Okay,
should
what
we-
year was this?
This was in 2012 to 2014,
Wow.
early 2014. It was a traumatic time. I'm glad to be not in that space
We've
anymore.
all had those.
Hey everybody, this is Tim Timmons. Hey, thank you so much for listening and being a part of this. I specifically want to thank Alexa and Anna J for jumping in and supporting us. We don't have a Patreon, but we do have a way for you to give. You can go to 10,000minutes.com and there's a little button that says donate. You can give a tax-deductible gift, a one-time, or if this has been helpful for you, you can give a little bit or a lot every single month and help us continue what we're doing with this. All right, so as I said, we're on episode 19, and this week is pretty powerful. We've got an author, a singer in the big-time YouTube band Caleb and Kelsey. They make out, by the way. She's a mother, she's a wife, and a great friend. This is Kelsey Grimm. And it's also Suicide Prevention Week. And I wanted this story to be told in light of all the things that are going on around the idea of suicide, depression, and anxiety. And here's what I love about this episode specifically. If suicide or depression or anxiety is anywhere a part of your story or not, or you know people who swim in these waters, I think this will be really helpful for you and everyone around you. This is going to give us some tools to know how to love people really well. So I think you're going to love hanging out with us for these next few minutes. Okay, so you were in that band,
Yes.
One Girl Nation, when we were partners in
Right, be nice to
labels.
Yeah.
Partners. And then go. Kelsey just came out with a book, everybody, as well.
I did. Well, it's not out yet.
It's not out yet?
Almost. Next
Keep
month.
seeing the book on the internet.
I know. People are tired of it already.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm tired of it already. My God, we're posting about this constantly, and it's
Yeah.
not even out yet.
But it's called Over It.
It's called Over It. Yeah. I don't know how far back I should go, but I'm a pastor's kid.
Okay.
And if you're a pastor's kid, then I don't have to explain to you the fishbowl effect
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of this idea that everyone's watching you and everyone expects you to be a certain thing. And whether you like it or not, there's this unspoken thing. And you have to be this unspoken thing and
Yeah.
have it together.
But it's the whole
but
narrative of
The whole
of
narrative.
the religion that we've
Yeah.
kind of grown up in was this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like have it together.
Yeah.
And people are watching you and
Yeah.
you are held to a higher standard. And so I think I started to believe at a really young age that people needed me to be something.
Yeah.
And that something needed to be put together and it needed to be clean and all the things look pretty. So having understood that at a young age, there was just a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of pressure. And constantly feeling this pressure to live into the expectations that I felt like people had of me. And it didn't play out well,
Yeah.
ultimately. I went to a Christian school, college that is, and I started dating and I started feeling this rebellion almost
Yeah.
bubbling up in me. I'd been the good girl for so long.
Yeah.
I mean, blindingly long.
Yeah.
It was not fulfilling. It's not that it wasn't who I was. I wanted to be good, but I was so tired of what it took to be good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when I got to college, I felt like that was my chance to step into myself. And I did it the wrong way. I was looking for an escape route and I found one, and it happened to be a boy.
Yeah.
At that time, one thing led to the next. And this person was abusive, emotionally abusive, psychologically abusive, sexually abusive. And it happened for a really long time.
Yeah.
And ultimately, he asked me, I think it was my junior year, he asked me to marry him. And I felt trapped. I'd been in the relationship for so so long. I didn't
Right.
feel like there was a way out, and
Right.
people were watching us.
Right.
He was a big head on campus. He wasn't a student anymore, but he worked for the university. And I was in music and in the groups that represented the university. And
Totally. So you were in deep.
yeah, I was in it. And people were watching us, and people thought from what they saw on the outside that it was good and it was perfect. So when he asked me to marry him, I said yes. And it only got worse from there. And so the abuse continued and the secrets continued because I couldn't tell anybody what was happening. And we were engaged for 9 months. I endured hell over that period of time. And one particular weekend, we had gotten in a fight and he physically locked me in a room, stood in front of the door, locked the door. That was the first time that I was like, okay, I felt trapped for a long time, but now trapped
Actually
in every,
trapped, yeah.
yeah, in every sense of the word. And I called my mom after he eventually let me out of that room. And I told her I needed to come home and I needed help and that I wasn't okay. And so I did. And I never told my parents at that time what was happening in our relationship because I knew that they would have told me to leave.
Right.
I mean, duh.
Right.
They're my parents.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
want to protect me.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I was still too deep to get out. So in my mind, I was like, I can let them in a little bit so that they can know I'm scared and maybe they can help me
Totally.
and buy me some time. And so that's exactly what they did. I mean, my mom told me that we could postpone the wedding and we could, this was February and we were getting married in May. There was only
Enough
a few
time.
more months.
Yeah.
After that conversation with my parents, I came back to school and I sat down across the table from him in a Starbucks and it just came out of me. I told him that I wanted out and that I knew I deserved better and that I wasn't going to take it anymore and that I wasn't going to marry him. And I mean, I got the news at the same moment that he did.
Yeah.
I was not aware in that moment going into that conversation that I was going to do that. It was just like, it was an out of body experience. And I wish I could tell you that the story got better from there. And that once I got out of that relationship, things started to put themselves back together. But the opposite happened. I mean, it was my senior year. I was in student teaching. It was February. I was graduating in May. And I was engaged for 9 months up to that point.
Right.
And so I was planning to live my life with this person. And when that moment happened, I was like, oh my gosh, where do I go from here?
Totally.
Yeah.
I just start over.
Yeah.
So I finished school and moved back home into my parents' house because I had nowhere else to go. Got a job as an office manager in town. And when I say that there was nothing left of me at that point, there was nothing left of me.
Wow.
Like I was a shell of a person. And if you know me, you know that
Yeah.
strong-willed.
Yeah.
I'm,
Yeah.
I make
Little
no buts
mean.
about
Yeah.
anything. Yeah, a little
Yeah.
mean
Yeah,
sometimes.
Yeah.
I have strong opinions and
Yeah.
a strong personality.
Yeah.
And I was not that person.
What would you
anymore.
tell that girl right now? If you were looking at her, she was sitting here, what would you want to say to her heart, even in the middle of it?
I think what I would tell her is that she's worthy of so much more. That who she is good enough. And not because someone else told her to be that way, but you don't have to change anything about yourself for another person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like if someone is trying to change the fabric and the fibers of who you are, there's something wrong with that person, not
Yeah.
you.
Right. That's huge.
And I changed every bit of myself for him. I wanted him to love me. And I thought that I could make him love me, and he never did. And so this local radio station reached out to me that summer when I was home living with my parents and acting wild. I met a guy at work, dated him. He ended up being a closet alcoholic. And that was, it wasn't even traumatic because I wasn't dating him for a relationship. I was just rebounding hard
Totally.
and medicating with all that I could get my hands on. And so did that, dated another guy at the tail end of that summer. And then this local radio station called me and said that they had heard about this group in Nashville, this girl group. They were called to look for girls in the area who fit this bill. And they were like, we thought of you. I had kind of competed locally for several years. And so they were like, we thought of you and thought you'd be perfect. You should go, you should do this. And I was like, a Christian girl group. If anybody knew the state of my life and what it was right now, this is a joke.
Yeah.
No, I cannot do that. And so I think one Sunday I was sitting in my parents' church and I was like, oh my gosh, this cannot be my life. Like I literally have nothing to lose. I may as well just go try.
Yeah.
I'll always wonder
Yeah.
if I don't do it.
I've always
So I-
wanted to be a ginger.
Always wanted
Yeah, yeah,
to be
yeah,
a ginger. I've always
Ginger
wanted
spice,
to know what
Yeah.
it would be like.
Yeah.
So I came and I auditioned and I made the group and they gave us 6 weeks to move here.
Oh
So I packed my
gosh.
bags and I moved to Nashville and I did not know a living soul here. Not a soul.
Wow.
And they moved me into this house with these 4 other girls who were from 4 different states.
Yep.
None of us knew each other. I think there was a place in my brain that was like, okay, this is actually a perfect new beginning.
Yeah.
No one knows me here. No
Right.
one knows my story.
Right.
No one knows what I've been through. I can just turn the page and start over and pretend like what happened then is like a thing of the past.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that things that you don't deal with
Yeah.
in the past
Yeah.
will catch up with you
Yeah.
in the future or in the present. And that's exactly what happened. So I came here with all of that baggage and all of these secrets that I'd never told anybody about what happened with that man in college. And I found alcohol here. I grew up in an environment where alcohol was a sin. So I didn't have any experience with drinking until I moved to Nashville. And then I found alcohol in Nashville and I was like, wait, this feels good.
Yeah.
This numbs everything
Yeah,
out.
right.
This is perfect. Everything hurts less when I'm drinking. And so I drank a lot and I partied a lot and I kind of fell into the wrong crowd. And the girls I was living with wanted to kick me out because they didn't know me. And they were like, this girl is crazy.
Yeah, she's cray-cray.
Like she is going to ruin anything before it starts. And so they were right. You know, I think I was blazing a path of destruction because at that point in my life, I didn't think there was a human on the planet who cared enough anyway to ask me, where is this coming from?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you okay?
Right.
Are you okay?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't okay. I wasn't okay. And so there's another story. I ended up at a house party here in Nashville. The people that I was with that night found out that I'd never done shots before. And so, I was their little guinea pig and I did a bunch of shots that night. Ended up throwing up in the bathroom off the kitchen and passing out on the floor of the den at the front of the house. And the next thing that I remember, and it's very hazy, but 2 men carried me upstairs in a dark house that I didn't know where I was. And I woke up at 4:00 in the morning with, nothing on. That was rock bottom. That was like, I, to this day, don't have any recollection of what happened. But you can surmise.
Yeah.
I think when you become a shell of who you are, you think that your worth lies in what everybody else around you is telling you it is.
Yeah.
And at that point, what I had been told is that I was just a body to be used and abused and tossed around. And you can change my appearance. You can make me play a part in a group. And I will, I'm a puppet and I dance to the marionette strings of the person pulling them.
Wow.
And that's what I did. And I did that because I didn't know who I was anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I allowed other people to tell me, this is who you are because this is who we need you to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One night, after that night, my manager had sat me down and said, the girls want you out. I don't know what's going on with you. You don't have to talk to me, but you have to talk to somebody or you got to pack your bags. I was like, but you can't send me home.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I can't keep you here.
Yeah.
One night, super late, which the irony of all of this, I was driving down Nolensville Road. This was a decade ago where nothing was out there. Nolensville is where I live now.
Yeah.
So it's like really crazy, a full circle moment. Like I'm living full of so much life now. But this particular night in time, I was driving this dark 2-way road. It was pouring down rain. And there wasn't a soul on the planet who had any idea what I had been through.
Yeah.
And I was alone.
Yeah.
In every sense of the word.
Yep.
And my dad called me in the car that night. And I heard the buzz of my cell phone and I reached over and grabbed it and I saw that it was him. And I was desperate. I was desperate. And my dad, if you know him, then you know that he doesn't get angry. And I have a very, very special relationship with him. But that night when I answered the phone, he was one of the ones screaming. So, there was a desperation from him too.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know who you are. We're worried about you. We didn't raise you to be this way, Kelsey. Like, you are throwing your life away.
Yeah.
You're throwing your life away. And your mom and I have tried. We tried all summer and all you do is self-destruct. And I was crying and he was crying and it was pouring down rain. It was dark. And I think he hung up on me. I think that was the first and only time that my dad's ever hung up on me. And when he did that, I tossed the phone to the seat and I don't know that it was a conscious decision that I made in that moment. Maybe it was, but I just allowed my car to start to veer over that yellow line. And I saw a pair of headlights like way, way down the road. And I saw this bridge Like there was just a couple of guardrails. I don't know that there was actually water underneath it, but there was a definite bridge. And I was like, this feels like the only option. And I can't believe I'm doing, again, all of this happened very quickly, but all of these thoughts were just running through my mind. Like this could be so quick and so simple and so easy, and it could all be over. And so I veered over the yellow line, and I don't know what would have happened, to be totally honest, but my phone buzzed again, and I looked over and it was face up this time, and I saw that it was my dad again. I almost didn't answer. But I did. I reached over and I grabbed the phone. And when I picked it up, he was crying a different kind of tears in that moment. And he was just, I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Kelsey. And I jerked the wheel back over and got back into my lane. And about that time, like this other car that had been coming past me, and I was back in my lane, and I mean, I couldn't see. I was sobbing hysterically. And he was like, baby, pull over. Where are you? And I pulled over, and he was like, I don't recognize you. And I know you don't either. Help me help you. Let me in, Kels. Let me be your daddy. I've always held that spot in your life. Let me hold it now. And I was like, I can't. You don't even know. Like, you don't even know. You have no idea what I've been through in the last year. And he was like, I don't. You're right. But would you take me there? And I was like, right now, no, I can't. I can't. And so that night I ended up at my manager's house, and he called a local counseling place, and I went the next morning. And because he gave me an ultimatum. He was like, listen, you can show up at 8:00 in the morning tomorrow, or you can go home. It's up to you. And so obviously my choice was made. I was going to counseling. Right. And I went, and it was the start of a very long road to healing. Finally, I mean, weeks in, maybe months in, to be honest, I don't really remember. I told him everything that had happened in that relationship. I'll never forget that day. I couldn't look at him the whole time. And he had been kind of telling me for weeks leading up to that I was going to sit down and tell him everything that happened. And I was like, I can't tell you what happened. And he was like, but you will. And I was like, okay, but I won't. And then I went in that day, and it was almost like I stared at a spot on the floor as he sat across the room from me. And once I started, I couldn't stop. It was just like it all was exploding out of me. And I never left that spot on the floor. And when I was done talking and I told him everything, there was just this like silence. And I know my eyes couldn't leave the floor because I was so full of shame. And I blamed myself for what happened, that it took him saying my name to like get me to peel my eyes off the floor. And I'll never forget, like when I looked up at him from across the room, he just had tears like streaming down his face. And I was caught off guard by that a little bit. And he was like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, no, you. And he was like, no, hear me out. I am so sorry that happened to you. He was like, Kelsey, we have a term in this community in therapy that we use to describe what you went through, and you're not going to like it, but the word is rape. That man raped you, and he took advantage of you, and he manipulated you and controlled you for 1.5 years of your life. And I'll spend the next 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, as long as it takes before you reach a point where you can accept that and accept that it wasn't your fault and move forward from it. And I can remember arguing, and I was like, no, but you don't. And he was like, no, you don't understand. And I was like, okay. Several months later, I finally got the courage to tell my parents. And, these are like baby steps of healing and just being known and letting people in. Then one of my brothers at the time had gone to college with me and was there while I was in that relationship. So he kind of had a front row seat to our relationship, at least more than anybody else did. So I got the chance to tell him what had happened. And it was a really dark time. This is a story. This is a story of redemption. I mean, God was always there, even when I wasn't aware of it. I'm married now. I have 3 beautiful babies, and I think healing is an ongoing thing and always will be.
Yeah. I mean, that's trauma and grief, as we've been talking about a lot lately, that you just don't get over, but you start processing through that and getting to a resolve at some point. I mean, so your book is called Over It, Forgetting Who You're Expected to Be and Becoming Who You Already Are. Okay, so I got a question. So this week that we're doing this is coming out, is Suicide Prevention Week. And I've had a lot of suicides around me lately and a lot of attempts around me lately.
Wow.
It's just a wild, wild few months. And one of my questions for you was, so I asked you what you'd say to your younger self, and you were saying that you're worthy. It's all the things that you're going to say in your book, probably.
Yeah.
I haven't read your book. I'm sure it's wonderful. It's not even out yet. Let's be honest.
It's not even out yet.
Right.
No.
But do those words work? So I think of a girl right now that I'm in a daily text, younger girl that I love so much. Just God told me years ago, this girl, you get to walk with her for her life. And, she's had a lot of these thoughts and done a lot of things to try. And those are the words I want to say and I do say is like, you are so awesome. Like you are worthy of being alive and you're loved, all these same things.
Yeah, right.
Do words work or do they not work? Because at that point, when you were that young or however old you were.
I was like 23, 20. Yeah. 23.
What would have worked? Is it just hitting the bottom? Is it words? Is it people asking you questions?
That's a good question.
And there may not be an answer to this. I don't think there's a universal answer.
I feel like a little bit of everything you just listed. For me, I think if someone just would have come to me and sat me down and said, I love you no matter where you are right now. I don't know what's happened, but I love you and you are enough as you are in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be anything but who you are. I love you because of who you are, not because of who you aren't. I think that would have gone a long way for me personally at that stage of my life. But I think what I would say is the world needs her. The world needs her here. The world wants her here. She was created to take up space here, like leave a footprint, leave several footprints, even if it's messy and muddy. And I think it's important to realize a couple things. Your past mistakes don't define your future steps. Your past mistakes can speak into your future steps, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be who I am today if those things hadn't happened the way that they did. I think there was a long time in my life where if you had asked me, Kelsey, if you could go back and change it all or do it all over again, would you do it differently? And I think there was a time where I would have been like, yes, because it was so freaking hard.
Yep.
And it was so awful and it was so dark. I don't think I would say that anymore. I know I wouldn't say that anymore. I would say I had to go through all of that to appreciate what I have now. I mean, it sometimes takes being in the dark to appreciate what the light means and what the light carries. And that's hope and healing and all of these things that we experience on the other side of grief and trauma. So you're doing all the right things for people like that who are in a season of life where it just feels without hope. One of the phrases that I cling to all the time to this day is that life never stays the same. So what you're going through now, it will not always be this way.
Yeah.
Things change, people change, scenarios change, circumstances change. It won't always hurt this bad. I mean, I'm living proof of that. I thought it would always hurt.
Yeah.
That raw, open wound, bleeding out kind of hurt. And it doesn't. I think you're doing all the right things. She deserves to be here.
Yeah.
Not for any other reason, but that she's a child of God. Already that makes her more than enough.
Yeah. And it seems like you had all the things said to you. They acknowledged who you were, and then you had someone who acknowledged your pain. You had someone else who acknowledged reality. This isn't okay. You had all the angles of God being like, yes to that and no to that. And there's a beauty in showing up for people authentically. So if you're someone who can validate pain for someone and acknowledge like, that was so awful. So that's all I can give today. I'm going to sit with you in that.
Right.
That's a big piece. You don't have to do the whole thing for someone, but that's a big piece for someone to feel less alone. Because there's a lot of parts of your story that I'm like, yes, that happened to me. I experienced that too. And it took a village. It took many people to show up and be like, I'm the one who's going to fight for you. I'm the one who's going to like bring you into reality. Yeah, I'm going to be the one who just listens. All those people are so important.
Right. I think there's something to be said too. You mentioned this just a second ago. Creating space for people to be as they are, not showing up to fix it necessarily, but just showing up to sit with them in their pain and to sit with them while they unload and while you give them space to be imperfect and messy. And that alone, I feel like gives people permission to just be like, okay, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Yeah.
But we don't often create space for each other
Right.
to be messy and messed up without giving pointers or like a step by step, here's how to fix it. Like sometimes the last thing you need is for someone to tell you how to fix it.
Yeah.
But to just sit there with you while you're in it.
Yeah.
You know, the reality is the sun will come up again. It always does. So waiting for that moment is sometimes all that person needs you to do.
Yeah.
And just being uncomfortable.
Yes.
Like it's scary to sit with someone like that. But imagine how scared they are that are sitting with it all the time.
Exactly.
So we just need people to be uncomfortable with us for a minute.
Yep.
For a few hours, for a season.
Yep.
For it to feel less alone.
Right.
But that's the part where like, we don't know how to turn this around. It's like, well, I know.
And that's okay. Yeah, totally.
We just had a friend commit suicide a few weeks ago. And this awesome, crazy, cool guy, this amazing couple. And he's in his 60s. And just, I mean, like one of the servants of our whole neighborhood. Just this beautiful, beautiful man. Loves Jesus. I mean, just awesome. You know, he's got kids, grown kids and grandkids. And, you know, everybody's like, why? Was there foul play? Like, what's going on here? How does this type of thing happen? But I think, you know, as we look at things, and I don't know that story, and none of us are ever going to really know that story. But it just made me think about guys specifically, how closed down guys are. It's like, yeah, I'm great. I'm fine. I'm good. But you just don't know. Like nobody would have known if they saw you on the street in that season. Nobody would have had a clue. And some of that's in your court because it's
100%.
like, I got to be able to tell somebody and divulge some of this stuff. And it's also on everybody else in some ways of just going, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, how do we see that stuff? I mean, it's just got me thinking a lot lately and trying to look a little deeper into things. And literally I've been asking Jesus to give me different view into people in this season, going, oh gosh, help me like see how you see people right now. Cause I want to be able to call this out, you know? But
It's a good reminder that you never know what someone is going through.
yeah.
You never, ever know what their story is unless you ask them. Like,
Yes.
and not just
Yes.
once, over and over and over, because sometimes it takes really establishing a line of trust for
Right.
someone to be like, okay, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
I've told you for months, maybe even years that I'm okay. I'm not okay. But you've established a trust with them where they feel like they can come to you and say that. It's a good reminder. You just, you don't know what people are struggling with. And you're right. People would have never known that I wasn't okay.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
There's just this like, and the pace of the life that we all live. I mean, in our
Right,
culture,
right.
we're moving at warp speed. People don't take time as much anymore to not be okay, because most of us feel like we don't really get that choice. Well, we have to just keep going because
Yeah.
that's what we do, and life
Yeah.
moves on. And you know, whether I'm okay or not, I have to do X, Y, and Z. I have to still mom, and I have to show up at my job. And I just wish a little bit more that we could slow ourselves enough to sit with each other long enough to ask the question, are you okay? If you're not, I hope you know I'm here when you're ready. I think it would go a long way.
What did you believe to be true about God in those moments? What were you living out that you believed to be true about God? Not in your like mind theology of going to Christian school, but in that moment as you're in your car, what would you say at the bottom of that was how you actually, what you believed to be true about God?
I think my view of God at that time was really skewed. I think that just like everybody else around me needed something from me, I think I had that same mental relationship with God. Like if my life wasn't lining up to where, you know, I was an exemplary Christian or I wasn't walking in his way, and I knew I wasn't,
Yeah.
you know, that God kind of had to turn away from me because I was living in darkness. God never moved, he never shifted away from me. As a parent, this is like, it's completely changed the way that I see God, because there is nothing that my kids could do, nothing that they could say or become or that would change the way that I love them. And they don't have to do anything. I love them because they're mine, because they are a piece of me walking around in the world.
Yeah.
And I think if I could have just sat that little girl down, that lost person, and just been like, Kelsey, God doesn't need anything from you. Everybody else in your life needs something from you. They need you to be something. God doesn't need anything from you. He just loves you and he just wants to be with you because you're his. He cries for you because you're so sad and you're so broken and you're so lost. I think that would have changed so much for me if I just could have seen God that way in that season. But at that point, I still thought I had to clean up my act for God to be able to turn his ear to me.
And I think that's key too. There's freedom in whoever might feel like that today. It's on them to undo what's been done to them.
Yes.
Sometimes we're like, we have to get ourselves out of things. I'm like, well, if we did, we wouldn't need the Spirit. We wouldn't need God. We wouldn't need people. I'd be self-sufficient. And I know there's certain situations where it's like, it is on you what you'd like to choose, but there are things that just happen to you that you're like, I have to carry this out, and that person got to move on. And so now I feel the pressure to undo what's been done to me.
Yep.
And so then you feel so alone. And then you have people being like, turn it around. And it's like, I'm trying.
Right.
Don't you think I would?
Myself in it.
Yeah.
And so that like beautiful freedom of like, you don't have to do anything. But I also do want you to be, like, just be. And I want you here. And I want to love you today and tomorrow. And there's freedom in that. But you don't have to undo today by yourself.
Right. So good.
Even though that's how it feels. Like, because I get the PK life. I have to undo this before I share it. It should be processed and healed and all these things. So it's not that cringy and it doesn't hurt my parents as much. And it starts to get really dark because you feel like you have, and that's a lie, right? I can undo the shame by myself.
Right.
But that's where God comes through so many different people and so many different ways of like, I'm just going to be someone who walks with you for this season.
Period. Full stop.
And that's so real. Just like the beautiful view of the way you see your kids is truly the heart of God for us. And in every scenario, even the ones we think we deserve.
Right.
Where it's like, he truly is like, you're mine. That's all it really comes down to.
Yeah.
I think they're saying it so well. I can relate, but I can't say it better. So, yeah.
Kelsey, thank you for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, I just think of my girl, and I can't wait for her just to hear this. And I know there's so many people out there that we would not even be aware that have had these thoughts. I mean, all the way to the point of suicide.
Yeah.
Or anywhere in between. I mean, because this isn't just like, oh, if you're just going to suicide. I mean, this is like everything up to that point.
Yes.
From believing
a
lie about God and about you all the way up to the place of ending it. I mean, it's really for all of us.
Yeah. And I feel like if we're all really honest with ourselves, we've all wandered to that place in our mind before. Would it be easier? Like, would we really do it? Maybe not. But, I think that's life. We walk through really, really dark things. And sometimes to a point where we're like, I'm too tired to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I want to give up.
Yeah.
And so for the people listening to this that are feeling that right now, you're not alone. You think you are, but you're not. I've been there more than once, and probably will be again. Yeah. That's the reality.
Right. Right.
It's
not a one and done.
Right.
Everything's great now. Yeah.
Right. It's not like once you've healed from it, you're like, okay, well, I'm glad that'll never happen again.
Right.
You said a second ago that, you think you're alone. I wonder if it's not a thinking thing. I wonder if it actually is a feeling, like letting the feelings drive the car versus truth.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I mean, maybe there are thinkers that would think it through.
Right. Well, my counselor would say, though it doesn't feel real, what you're fearing, you feel the fear, so it is real still.
Yes.
Right.
So there is still a truth to it that you feel alone.
And
you
your
feel
perception is your reality. So it almost doesn't matter. Like,
yep, totally.
If you feel it, it's true for you.
Yeah.
In that moment, you have to dig a little deeper and remind yourself what you know to be true, even when your mind and your heart are telling you something otherwise anymore.
And you've done a lot of work.
Yeah. Oh, man.
On restoring some of these things and digging through some of these things.
Oh, yeah. I mean, reopening.
Right.
Wounds that I never wanted to go back and relive, but sometimes that's necessary. It's a necessary step. And also For the people listening to this that have never been to therapy, please go.
Yeah.
Please go. Like, there is no shame. It's so much braver to admit that you can't do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
It takes so much more courage to say, okay, I need help. You're not less of a person
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
if you find yourself sitting in a therapy room or in the presence of a counselor. I would argue that you're more brave.
Yeah. It's huge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an action of like true self-love.
100%.
I love myself enough that I'm going to go find someone who can affirm that.
Yep.
That I'm
Sit
worthy
in this space
of
with me.
Yeah. Talking about things.
Yep.
I think I'll just add for the guys too out there who are listening. This is not like a gender thing. And I know you guys have been articulating this so well from your perspectives, and that's why I've like not said anything, because I'm like, everything I was going to say, it would like come out of your mouth like 2 seconds later. It's like, oh, thank God. I think I just want to encourage our guy listeners too, that so much of your story I've lived, from the like broken engagement to the like my like rebound years. I was on tour with like some of the biggest artists in the world and just going crazy, right? And same time, I remember walking around drunk downtown Houston, lost, had to call my dad, like in tears, and my family, like same type of family, have no idea what to do. So walked through very, very similar experiences there, into like adulthood, finding all of my identity in what I could offer and what I could do, and then stripping that back. And then I remember in the darkest time, this is a much larger story, but like literally having these thoughts of like, I could just end it and it could be over. And then I think of my kids. And I think there's so many people, and there's so many people I've known, and guys like you're talking about your friends, there's so many pastors, there's so many people in ministry who say, God, I can't let people know what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even like my whole thing in the music that I make is like, like is all about identity, value, and worth. And then I'm sitting here at home like I'm worthless and I'm nothing without like, you know, doing all the stuff. And I'm like, well, maybe it's just easier. And so I want to reiterate just what you said. Where I found the most peace was when I went and talked to a professional about it. I have a degree in psychology. So I was like, I was like diagnosing. I was like, I know what I'm going through.
Yeah.
From a Jesus angle and from a medical, clinical angle. I had a big song that talked about this a handful of years ago, and I started getting these emails. So many that I started calling some of my psychologist friends. I was like, hey, am I legally liable for all of these suicide notes I'm getting?
Right.
I didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And it really gave me a view of so many people need to know that their life has value, that their life has worth, that they were made intrinsically good just as they are.
That's so good.
And I almost broke our cussing rule, but like stuff happens, like life happens to us, right?
Yeah.
And it's not fair and it's nasty and it's ugly, but it does. And it takes a lot of bravery to come out and talk about it and to share that with somebody. But there is freedom in that space. And just like you said, it's not something that like just goes away. And you've seen like really vocal advocates for mental health then commit suicide. There's multiple examples of that over the years. And so this isn't something that we just fix and walk away from, but something that we have to be mindful of once we're attentive to it.
Yeah.
I know there were moments in my life when I didn't care who God was. I didn't care what they were saying. I knew what was going on, but in the midst of it, I was like, well, screw it. I'm just doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then there were moments when like I knew these truths, but they just didn't feel true. And sometimes you have to have other voices speak that into you and show you. So I just want to encourage the listeners that if you're in that space, to be brave enough to step out and get help. And I'm sure we can provide resources on how to do that, like after the episode or whatever. But there's hotlines and there's groups and there's things all over the country that we can connect you to people to help. And I don't want to negate the power of prayer, because this is the email I get all the time. on people who've thought about suicide or tried it, and they've tried to pray their way out of it and can't. And I don't want to negate the power of that, but God has gifted professionals, and he has created the science and given these people this knowledge that can help us. And so we should trust God in them to help us. So I don't want our listeners to think that I don't believe in the power of prayer, because I do.
Right.
But I believe in the power of prayer plus the people that he's put in our lives and equipped to help us. So please don't be afraid of that.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Thank you, Moy. Thank you, Kelsey.
Thank you for having me.
Great.
It was an honor.
Kelsey, we're going to switch quick gears.
Okay. Let's switch. Shake it off.
Shake it out.
Everything's fine. Everything's great.
Everything's fine.
great.
I'm fine. Everything's fine.
Kelsey, this is 10,000 questions, and there aren't actually technically 10,000 questions.
Oh.
Okay.
It just
Is this one of those like rapid response?
Oh, you're getting
Speed round,
Yes.
baby.
so.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I guess we didn't even get into Caleb at all on
It's
this.
fine. We're still married. We're great.
I know.
Everything's
Yay.
Everything's great.
We're fine.
We'll put it in the notes.
Yeah. There you go.
And next week we're talking about marriage
Ooh,
and marriage
okay.
issues. So
Got
be great.
whole
if
other
you
stories
want, you
for
come
that.
on to that. It's going to
Yeah,
be
I
so
love it.
perfect. Okay, no, but Caleb's great. I was just trying to think of a joke. What's the most annoying part about Caleb? Go.
You choose too loud.
Oh, wow.
I knew it.
You knew it.
No,
you
I
knew I
didn't.
had. Okay. It's a real. Did you guys know it's like an actual syndrome
I
that
have
some
the-
people.
I have
I
the
have
syndrome.
it. It gives me rage.
Oh,
Yes. I
have rage.
Yes. I have that with
Man.
smells.
Do you?
I do.
It smells too.
Smells like make me
Angry?
angry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So buses
Whoa.
aren't fun for me.
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
Is it like fart smells?
oh,
Like,
for sure. Like I
or
take
like garbage. like when the garbage
yeah,
is-
garbage. But if it's coming from a person, I take
way
it.
worse.
I take it as a personal attack against me
Chris,
as a person.
I'm
Like,
so happy to know
Yeah.
this.
On the other
Yeah.
side of the table. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
paranoid.
Yeah, you want to get me angry?
funny.
I won't say anything, but like I will clean your bunk while you're gone. Oh
Acts
yeah,
of service?
I for sure will.
Chris,
A little bit.
I'm like-
Not really. Not in
Yeah,
the
maybe
heart.
it's like a
Not in
passive
the heart.
aggressive. Like I'm not gonna tell you.
But you stink, so
yeah,
I'm just
but
gonna clean it up
I'm
for
gonna
you.
take care of
but
this.
take the hint.
Yeah.
oh my
It's
gosh.
so funny.
Oh.
That's a whole
Man.
nother episode
I know.
right
Yeah.
there.
Maybe we'll get there one day.
Okay, well, I was going to say pet peeves, but we'll get
It's
past
still
that one.
chewing.
I know it is.
Like it's a real thing. Also, late people.
Ooh, sorry I was late today, guys.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's fine.
My,
that wasn't like
late
that wasn't
people
like my
and then
passive aggressive
a look.
way of
Yeah, yeah.
My
throwing Chris
neighbor's
under the
fire
bus.
alarm went
That's-
off. They weren't there. The fire department came. I had to go let them in the house.
Sure,
It was a whole thing.
sure.
Usually I'm just late because I'm lazy, but today there was an excuse.
Gosh. Yeah, we told her to say that.
Yeah, thanks.
Say
Sorry.
late people. And look at you.
Late people. We'll act surprised.
Practical jokes.
I like them. I think they're funny.
Any
Caleb does not think they're funny.
No.
Ooh, I learned early on.
Go.
It's just not funny to
Go.
him.
What did you think was funny that he did not think was funny?
Well, I kind of think it's funny every now and again to like hide behind a door or a wall. And if somebody comes around and they're obviously not expecting you, just to like you don't have to scream like a monster, but just like boo. And it's not funny to him. It's not funny at all.
That happens.
Caleb,
to
I'm
us all
so
the time.
sorry.
Oh man.
So sorry.
But he lives with an Enneagram 7, so he
Right.
kind of signed up for it.
What is
Right.
he?
He's a 5. So you can
I don't
imagine.
even know what a 5 is.
Yeah.
What
See,
is
it's
that?
the investigator. It's the people that don't like other people.
It's
Those are the 5s.
totally true. Yeah.
They do. He likes his alone time.
Yeah.
But I keep him fun. He keeps
Totally.
me grounded.
Ooh.
Totally.
I'd probably be out jumping out of a plane or
Gosh,
something
next week's
on
gonna be
this
a
Monday
great
morning.
episode.
Yeah.
Favorite movie?
Titanic.
Ooh.
Oh,
How
my
come?
goodness.
Very quick.
How come?
Yeah.
Oh man, it's just everything about it. It's beautiful.
Mhm.
This beautiful love story that's like painful, and I can relate to her. I think is probably part of it. Like she grew up in this perfect, family, and they needed her to be something all the time, and then she was like, "Nah, I'm gonna go
see
marry
it.
this other dude."
How did you feel about her throwing the diamond off at the end? You know,
That
like 'cause
part still irks me to this day.
I laughed so hard because she's like, she like
The
makes
old
a
lady,
noise. Yeah.
so good. She just tosses it
Yeah.
over. Yeah, that part is still hard for me to understand. But yeah, Titanic.
Oof.
Tommy Boy would be a close second.
Oh, I, like
I know those are very different.
Oh,
No,
classic
it's-
though.
I like it a
You
lot.
need the diversity, and
Yeah.
sevens need the diversity
Yes,
because
we
it's
do.
like, okay, so I got a question for you.
Okay.
Froyo.
I knew it.
Okay.
It feels like a waste of time.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Let's go.
I feel like you guys, every time I say Froyo, somebody has a thought. Oh, you're so quick. They're quick on their thoughts. I got to be quick
Is
with
that
my
not the
question.
direction you were going
No,
with it?
no,
Let me
okay.
listen.
Thank you. If you're going Froyo, do you go sweet and like fruity, or do you go chocolatey and vanilla-y, or both?
Probably I lean towards this like fruitier ones, not the heavy chocolate. But you know
Tim,
what?
like,
It depends.
tries to get somebody to be like. He's like trying to lead him into being like him. Am I the only
You are.
one?
You definitely.
Okay, so
you're throwing a
keep
line
going.
out
But
for
you're
sure.
not super chocolate, but
No, I'm not like a big chocolate fan.
yeah, me neither.
Listen, the thing is, I'd rather have a pack of Skittles than a pack of M&Ms any
Yeah,
day.
all day.
Like I'm a sour,
long.
chewy candy
Yeah.
girl,
Yeah.
not like a milk chocolate
Yeah.
kind of girl.
I'm a sour chewy kind of girl too. That is.
Whoa,
this is-
whoa, huh?
this is
What? Who?
perfect.
Whoa.
Perfect.
Can you tell a joke?
No, not really. I wish. It feels like I should be able to because
I
I'm
know.
a 7.
I know.
It feels like I should have like a pocket full of jokes just on hand and ready, but I
I think
no.
you're just the one that wants to laugh at the jokes.
I want to
the
laugh
most.
at the
Yeah.
jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like
Yeah.
someone else's job to tell the jokes.
Yeah.
I'll laugh at them.
FYI, I can't tell a joke.
Yeah.
If you ask me to tell a joke, there's
I
no
wonder
way.
what most comedians are like on the Enneagram. That would be an
That'd
interesting.
be interesting to know.
Yeah. Hmm.
I don't think they're 7s.
I don't
know.
know that they
Yeah.
are either.
I don't know if they are.
Mm.
Most of them are like really
Maybe they're
like
3s.
secluded. I think they might be 3s too, but that's my hunch.
Or maybe they're 5s because they sit
They
by
could be
themselves in quiet
Investigate
rooms.
crap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause
and
they're
then they just
smart.
write stuff out about
Yeah.
it. And then they can turn it on
Mm.
for like a short time.
But they're not
Yes.
feelers. I don't feel like
No.
they're not going to get their feelings
Nope.
hurt.
And you'd have to be a not feeler
Yeah.
to be a comedian
For
because
sure.
people don't laugh at your jokes. You gotta be fine with that.
Yeah.
Favorite sound?
Favorite sound?
Yep.
When a baby laughs.
Oh,
Doy.
I mean, come on.
Favorite
Aw.
smell?
Any kind of food cooking, but particularly Mexican.
Oh, the cooking of it.
hmm Like whenever, someone's making. Well, okay, I'm just gonna say it. When you saute garlic, that moment when you throw garlic into a hot sizzling pan.
Hillary
that
did that last
smell.
night. Yeah, we made out for a good hour after that.
congratulations.
I
man.
feel like I know your schedule,
But
man.
you have
I
to-
don't want
you
to
have to
know
make
it,
out-
but I feel like I got it.
Before you eat the garlic.
Pre-garlic. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
can't be
Post garlic
after.
is not good.
Help.
Yeah, then you're making out with gum in your mouth.
Whoa.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Swapping
If you
gum.
both have the garlic.
If you both have it, it's
Yeah,
less.
yeah,
terrible.
that works. That works.
Yeah.
What was your band called? One Girl Nation. What was your favorite One Girl Nation song?
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys, is it weird that I almost can't remember a single song?
I love
like,
it.
I feel like that phase of my life is totally blocked out.
Yeah.
I don't even like.
That's legit.
Yeah,
I can't
I
remember.
could see that.
I mean, these are songs I used to like get up in a costume and dance on stage, like with the Britney Spears mic too.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys Garth Brooksed it.
Yeah, we did it.
Wow.
And I can't recall a single
Mhm.
lyric. I
Mhm.
have no idea.
I think you're doing great.
That's
Right.
real.
I think you are too.
Sometimes I don't trust my brain, but it's probably for the best.
That's the 3 kids.
It's
It's fun.
yes, it's getting worse. That's why we're not having anymore.
When a baby cries, what's your guys' deal at night? Who gets up?
So it kind of depends on which one it is. If it's the youngest, the baby girl, it's always going to be me. If it's either the 2 boys,
For obvious reasons.
for obvious reasons, boobs, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But for the boys, they'll take daddy now.
Yeah.
It didn't always used to be that way.
Yeah.
Sometimes if Caleb would go up there, it would make it like
Worse.
astronomically worse.
Mhm.
Just go
And
back
then-
to bed.
Right.
I'll take care of this.
It wasn't even worth it.
With twins,
I can't
I
even
had to-
fathom twins.
I had to use my parts as well. We tried.
I don't understand what that means.
No one
My-
has,
my
no one
breasts,
has
but
follow up
congrats.
questions. Everyone looked at each other.
Hillary, the 2 babies were awake, and so I would have to try to nurse one of them.
Just pacify them with a nipple.
Yeah. Sorry,
Like,
babe.
just jump on.
Even though they
I
know
wanna
the
try.
difference real quick.
She's like, what are you doing?
Like, have you
I don't know.
lost
I'm just trying
your
to help.
mind?
Oh my goodness.
Solidarity, babe.
I'm trying.
Uh,
So went to a lactation specialist, and so anyways,
Yeah.
this has been a great episode.
This has been
Latching.
awesome. Okay.
Okay, well, I may or may not have just edited a bunch of stuff out,
Yeah,
and,
totally.
and maybe it'll go on some later
Behind the scenes.
behind the
Oh,
scenes.
The donors
That's
get it.
good.
We need
Donors
we
get
need
the
one
extra.
episode that's like, maybe don't let the kids listen,
Yeah.
and then we'll just put all of this in
Okay.
there.
Okay.
That
Just
sounds
be
good.
B-roll of us chatting.
Total
about it.
B-roll. So Kelsey, people can check out your book when?
I mean, it's available for pre-order now. Anywhere
Okay.
you buy books.
Okay.
So Check
I'm a
it
serial
out
book buyer, so it's
And
going to
then-
happen right now.
I mean, then
Perfect.
just go check out Caleb and Kelsey.
if you want.
Okay, great.
If you want,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. It's all over the internet.
it might be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I show up where Caleb tells me to show up. I mean, I don't
Do you
have
wear
a
a
lot
red
of-
wig?
No, thank God, not anymore.
Okay, strong. Okay, go get your kids.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thanks everybody for listening to this. If you want to get free text messages, please text 10K10K to 55678. Go check out 10,000minutes.com, and please would you rate this or like or subscribe to 10,000 Minutes? That would be really helpful for us. Thanks guys, and catch us next week. We've got Ellie Holcomb on here, and it is such a great classic conversation. All right, bye.